What's up, y'all? It's your girl Brandy back with another video. So by the title of this video, this is going to be why I am done with Airbnb. Shady business practices and just overall headache, okay? So if you're new to my channel, my name is Brandy. I'm just an educated black girl that does recaps, story times, and travel vlogging. So this was fresh on my brain, and I'm actually having there was a situation that happened with Airbnb that solidified my decision to really stop utilizing their company. They've already been going downhill. I'm sure you've seen the videos, but yeah, we're gonna get into it. Also, y'all, usually I got my hair out, but it's in Bantu knots right now, and I'm like, I need to make a video, but I don't know if I want to be there ratchet on camera because they look crazy. But let's just go ahead and get into the video, right? So if you're watching this video, I don't know why you're watching this video. Maybe Airbnb did you wrong. Maybe you want to book an Airbnb, you've never booked an Airbnb, or you're interested in doing it. Maybe you want to be a host and you want to look at horror stories so that maybe you don't do the same thing, right? So let's just start about the background of Airbnb. I'm gonna get into it quick, y'all, but just let me give you a background on what I have experienced with Airbnb. So I've been using Airbnb since 2018. When Airbnb first came out, if you're not aware, Airbnb was the big thing because it was more affordable than hotels. When you go to a hotel, even though you're paying for, whatever hotel that you go to, whether it's 1-star to 5-star, you're paying for what you get for. There's still this kind of like lack of privacy in a sense because your room's next to someone. Obviously, people usually don't mind it. It's just the hotel experience. But Airbnb changed the game because you had access to entire homes. You had more privacy, more space. You had additional utilities. You could use their washer and dryer. You could go, had a personal pool. You just have more privacy. You got more bang for your buck. I remember my first Airbnb was to South Padre Island with some friends for spring break, and we got an amazing deal for 3 days. Hot tub, golf cart use. It was like a 3-bedroom home. We got an amazing deal. I can't even remember how much we paid. I want to say maybe $400 or $500, but we were right off the beach. It was just an awesome thing, right? Nowadays, that's not the case. All right, so let's just go get into my first story where I first started noticing that Airbnb was going downhill. I really have 2 stories, but let me just say the main ones, right? Okay, so been using Airbnb since 2018. Had really no issues. Over time, I did notice that Airbnb started to become a little bit more expensive, but I was like, okay. And I wasn't somebody that used Airbnb all the time. I would usually use an Airbnb once a year for like a special trip, spring break, something like that. So 2021 came around. Me and some friends decided that we were going to go to the cabins in Blue Ridge. So we rented a cabin for like 3 nights. The cabin was very expensive. We ended up paying almost $900. The cabin was expensive, even though it was 3 of us, because we thought more people were going to be coming, and there was so many rooms. Like it had like 4 or 5 bedrooms, and one of the bedrooms had like 2 bunk beds, and it had a game room, and it had a hot tub, it had all that stuff. So not complaining about the price, but this is where it started to get a little weird. Okay, so within the price at that time, we were paying $150 for a cleaning fee. And so if you have never booked with Airbnb, something that I don't like that Airbnb does is that they don't provide you the checkout instructions until checkout. In my opinion, I think that it's really important to be transparent with the people that are utilizing your platform and letting them know upfront what the expectations are within this unit. They do tell you in the listings what the house rules are. However, they don't give you specific checkout instructions until you until it's close to checkout, which means if you have a 4 or 5 day stay, you don't get the checkout instructions until day 3 or 4, right? So this is where that becomes an issue. So we paid $150 for this cleaning fee. It outlined it in there that that's what it was for. And so when checkout came, the first thing that kind of like, okay, this is weird. They told us that we had to take all of our bedding and we had to bring it down to the washer machine. We didn't have to put it in the washer, but we had to bring it down. Okay. Weird, but okay. Strip my own sheets. Okay, cool. 2, second cleaning checkout instruction that was not disclosed, mind you, was that we had to take all of our towels and rags that we utilized as well down. So, well, I guess this is the same instruction. It was basically saying any towels, rags, linens that were utilized, you need to bring them down to the washer area, right? So that they could be washed. Okay. Never knew I had to strip my own sheets and bring them to the cleaning area in the hotel, but okay. All right. So the next checkout instruction that kind of like irritated me was they told us that we had to pre-wash our own dishes. Now, mind you, y'all, whenever I go to an Airbnb and we cook and we use dishes, I always make sure I wash dishes. That's also one thing that I just don't feel comfortable staying in someone else's home and just washing dishes. Using their silverware or using my own and then just leaving that in the sink for someone to clean. Now, I will say this, right? Well, let me continue. Okay, so that was the next one, that we had to pre-wash our dishes. I don't leave dirty dishes, but I don't understand what pre-wash your dishes means. Have y'all ever heard of pre-wash your dishes? Because I've never heard of that. If you have to pre-wash your dishes, you're pretty much washing the dishes. Like, it's not like they're saying, like when I used to work in fast food, when we would wash up for the night, we would wash the dishes and then we would have to put them in sanitizer. And then in some instances, we had to leave them in sanitizer for closing, and then, you rinse them off, you sanitize them. But you're saying to pre-wash dishes. Okay, all right. And the irritating point about that in particular is, again, you're paying $150 for a cleaning fee. I'm not saying that people should leave the house just disgusting, but also if someone's paying you an exorbitant amount to clean the home, why are you asking a guest to clean up anything, right? So then the final straw came when this happened, okay? So after that, the final checkout instruction was that we had to take out our own trash, which again, I'm like, okay, we're paying you guys to clean the place up. We're not trying to leave it a mess, but what are we paying you for if we're having to also clean up as well? So we had to take out our own trash, and I wouldn't have been as annoyed with that rule, but the thing is that there was no trash can outside, like a trash bin where we could put the trash. It was a community that was a cabin in the hills, so that specific community, we had to bring the trash down to a dumpster. Now, most places they have a trash bin outside, but they did not have a trash bin outside for some reason. So we had to take our trash that we used on our 3-day trip with us. Mind you, we were cooking eggs, bacon, fish, all that. So we had to take all that stuff, our trash, with us in our car when we were leaving, and then we had to take it down to the dumpster and throw it out. Now you tell me what the hell I was finna cuss. What the hell did I give y'all $150 cleaning fee for? That is really giving bait and switch. And so that was the first instance when I was like, okay, this is shady as hell. And I probably should have disputed a bit of the cleaning fee, but I wasn't thinking. And you tell me if I'm wrong, because I just felt like that was so shady, and it really turned me off for a couple years from booking with Airbnb, because I was just like, I just felt very taken advantage of. And so I didn't use Airbnb for 3 years. Then I had a birthday trip in that was 2021. I used it 2 years later for my birthday trip in 2023. And I again started noticing things. The house just would not be cleaned to precision the way that hotels clean their homes. I remember I got a cabin for my 27th birthday in 2023 with my boyfriend, and the first thing that we noticed upon arrival was that there was this weird smell. There was a weird smell. The linens and towels were like, it seemed like, when somebody hasn't washed something for a while, so they carry this, like, towels will carry a certain scent if they just sit there. That's what it smelled like. They hadn't been washed, and it just, the house wasn't up to par. I remember we ended up, the smell was so like irritating that when we got there and unpacked, we ran to Walmart to go get some air freshener. And I remember letting the host know, but it's very inconvenient, y'all, for you to let somebody know that the house isn't up to standard cleaning wise, and then they have to send somebody out to clean. It's like you're cutting into my vacation time. When you get somewhere, you just want to sit, you want to rest, you want to chill. You don't want to have to deal with somebody having to come back and fix an issue that should have already been fixed. So over the course of the next couple of years, I just noticed that the Airbnbs were charging more, and then I didn't have a lot of issues with the checkout instructions, but again, it was just like I would go and the cleaning was just never up to par. That was just always been my experience since the cabin in 2021. After that, every Airbnb, it was just like just dirty, not really matching the pictures anymore. The space just didn't reflect what were in the pictures. Like, these spaces were super small. They had these crazy checkout instructions. I remember at one point, one checkout instruction, because I had brought my dog with me and they allowed pets, was that if you leave any pet poop in the yard, that's going to be $10 per pet pile. And I just think that is just so ridiculous. Like, again, I'm not saying people should just be leaving the place a mess, but all these crazy checkout instructions and rules and regulations that y'all want to just throw upon people, I think it can be very misleading and crazy. So let me just get into why I'm officially done with Airbnb after all that, just the low quality shady shit that they be doing, right? So recently I booked an Airbnb for Palm Springs. I'm going to Palm Springs on Monday. If you're still with me, check out that video because I'm doing a vlog, travel vlogging, all that. So I'm going to Palm Springs on Monday. I found this last minute deal on Airbnb. It was like $140, right? So it was I booked it on Saturday for Monday through Wednesday. Now, okay, mind you, I'm taking full accountability for what I'm about to tell you next, because I can understand where, I was wrong in this situation. So after I book, I get a message from the host, and they say that if you're bringing a pet, it's $30 per pet per night plus taxes. So I have a dog and I'm staying 2 nights, so that's an extra $60. In my head, I'm not gonna lie, I got irritated by that, because if I'm paying $200 in total, $200 plus in total, I could have made other accommodations, right? I got the place because it was a last minute deal and it was very cheap. $140 at Airbnb, that's a steal, can't deny that. But when they sent that, I was like irritated, and I went back and I checked to see, because I didn't see that in the original listing. So whenever you look at an Airbnb listing, they have the original listing with the home, the pictures, the rules, just the amenities and things like that. Now, what they do is sneakily is that whenever you're about to pay, there's an additional rules section or additional info section with additional rules. In there, they can put additional fees that you might incur, like parking, pet fees, things like that. So it's very, very important, y'all, that y'all are making sure that you are fully reading the additional fees and house rules and things like that. Because where I felt like it was misleading was it wasn't posted in the original listing. And I also think that it's also weird that Airbnb allows hosts to even add additional fees in that way. If there are additional fees, even though you're disclosing them, whenever I pay, I feel like that should be something that's on a receipt or something. I just don't feel comfortable paying Airbnb and then on the side, outside of Airbnb, even though they're disclosing it, having to pay this in a third party way, if that makes sense. Because now at that point, it's under the discretion. They can just charge what they want to charge. So then what's the point of doing business through Airbnb? So I didn't see that when I initially booked, and then I just felt the type of way about it. I was just like, well, damn, I could have just made other accommodations at a better hotel. And so this is where it got kind of weird. So I contacted the host immediately after that, because they sent that message right after I booked. Probably like within the next 15 minutes, I saw the mistake that they did show that, but it was not in the original listing area. It was in the additional information section, right? So I asked the host, I said, hey, actually, I have my phone. I can actually read to you specifically what I said to the host, and you tell me what you would have done or if I'm crazy, right? All right, so this is what I said to the host. Okay, so I said, hi, I understand my reservation is outside of the refundable cancellation period, but my travel plans have changed unexpectedly. I wanted to ask if you're able to consider a partial refund or credit for an alternative date. I would really appreciate any flexibility you're willing to offer. this is where it got weird. Now, the host in the Airbnb app, so you guys can see, I'm not lying, they said, thank you for getting in touch with us. You can always text us mentioning Airbnb, and then they gave me 2 different numbers, right? So I texted one of the numbers, which I thought was weird. Why didn't they just tell me right then and there what they could do? I texted one of the numbers immediately after that. This was like 6 p.m. at that point. I booked it around like 2:45 and sent the message around like a little bit after 3, this message. And then the host got back to me at 6 p.m. I went ahead and sent a message immediately after that, pretty much saying the same thing. Hi, I understand my reservation, blase, blase, blase. After I sent that to the phone number, they never messaged me back. I said, okay, you know what? It's Saturday. Let me give them some time. I did send it in the evening, even though I sent it promptly around 3 o'clock. But, you know, it could be the weekend. I don't know if they're working. I don't know the situation. So yesterday went by. Today went by around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, because, again, the booking is for Monday. I inquired. I didn't hear anything from the phone number. So I went back to my messages with the Airbnb, and I said, hi, I reached out yesterday and still haven't heard anything back. Is there a time frame where I can expect a response, or is there any information you can give me on possible options to resolve this since the booking is for tomorrow? And again, y'all, at that point I was like, okay, I made a boo-boo. I'm not asking for a refund. I'm asking for like a partial credit, or if there's just any way that you could accommodate me, I will even push the travel dates. I'm even willing to push the travel dates, you know, out for the same period. I'm even willing to change the travel dates and still honor the booking. I just can't honor it at this time. So then they said, no change is possible. So sorry. I said, I booked it yesterday and I immediately asked for a change. Is there a reason why I'm not able to get any type of resolve? Because I said, I don't believe I'm going to be able to go through with the stay. And then that's when they said, reservation is booked and policy is published to cancel. Use the cancel button on Airbnb app. And so that's when I went to Airbnb support, because I was like, okay, they're not even willing to, again, I'm not asking for a refund. I'm just asking if you could accommodate me possibly staying at a different time. And so what I did was I messaged Airbnb and I started talking to them through their support, just the actual, you know, Airbnb personnel, right? So the Airbnb person pretty much told me that because of the time frame that I booked it, and because it's non-refundable at this point, it's really up to the discretion of the host if they want to accommodate me, so they can't do anything. And they said what I can do is cancel it, and then I can request a refund, and the host has 72 hours to refund me. But if they don't refund, then they can do something. But if the host declines the refund, then it's like, what's the point? So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I'm pretty much fucked, right? I'm effed, right? Because if I do stay, if I don't stay, then I'm pretty much just up to their discretion, which that's some free money for them. So in my head, I'm like, okay, this is like such an irritating thing. I felt trapped at that point. Like, I get non-refundable and all that, but it was a simple mistake, and I'm not even asking for a refund. Just accommodate, just, can I get some customer service, right? All right, so then I even said, I looked up if I could do a change request, and they said that, again, the change request would have to be on the host. They would have to approve it. So I looked through and I was looking at the dates, and I found a date 2 weeks out that was $41 extra. So I would be paying an extra $41. But at that point, I just I was okay with even coming back out, because I figured, okay, this would be a chance for me to do some content. I'm not even mad about, I've already bit the bullet that I lost the 140, okay? I just want to see if I can just change the date, because I'm just not feeling it no more. And so I saw that and I said, okay, well, if I change the dates, I'm providing an extra $41 for them. Would you consider that? You know, the rates went up. You'll be making a little bit more money, and I will honor it. But again, you know, I know in their head they're probably like, I could probably cancel anything like that. But again, they would still have some of my money, because even if they changed it and I canceled it, I would only be getting a partial refund. So regardless of anything, they're still gonna have my money. All right, so They denied that, and then at that point I just felt like, you know what, I'm in this situation with this Airbnb that I don't want to be in. I already feel like it's shady as hell that the pet fee that they listed in the additional information section was not listed on the original listing. People who don't have a good knowledge of Airbnb who would not know to go there. And even me, y'all, for real, as long as I've been using Airbnb, because I don't use it a lot in my app, I've only done like 8 trips so far, right? 8 trips, right? And so I didn't know that until I really looked through the rules. So it's shady, and I wish I could find I'm just all over the place, but I wish I could find the review. But there was another person who also pointed out what I said, and they also notated that it's not clear in the original listing that there is a pet fee. Nobody would know that. Like, again, a boo-boo on my behalf, but I just feel like this was just so unaccommodating, and I'm just like, I'm done. So pretty much the resolve of this is I'm going to go ahead and stay in the Airbnb. I'm going to do some travel vlogging, so you'll be able to see the Airbnb that I stayed in, but I'm like just so done with them. And so my final message to Airbnb was this, right? So me and Airbnb were kind of going back and forth because I was letting them know that I'm pretty kind of like upset that the host is so unaccommodating, and they were trying to be as validating as they could, but they were saying, but when you book the reservation, the listing description disclosed that there would be additional fee. It discloses that there additional fee. That's not what I was disputing. The way that it's put in there is so kind of shady, in my opinion. And one could argue that maybe I didn't do my due diligence and didn't read. But this situation really reminds me, y'all, of like, if you've ever been to Vegas, because I live there now, sometimes they have restaurants, and the restaurants will charge what are called concession fees. And so what they do is you're walking through, you might be wanting something to eat. You see this restaurant, it'll have like a menu or like some board or poster on it, right? With the menu name. Now it'll have the menu name and all that stuff on it in big bold letters, but in a small lettering on like a corner of the poster where you have to squint to see, they will have lettering that says, we charge a certain percentage, right? And so then you eat at the restaurant, you look at your receipt, and then you see like an extra $3-4 charge, which it'll be a concession fee. And so then you question them about this, and they can say, well, technically we did disclose that fee. It just, it was on there, but in your head it's like, okay, but it was very small. And the funny thing is that you can actually dispute that if you push hard enough. If that ever happens to you in Vegas, you can just ask them about that. Most times they're not going to go back and forth with you about it, because most people don't even notice that it's there. Most people just pay it. But if you do notice it, ask them to remove it, and most times they will. But that's just kind of how I'm feeling about this situation. Again, I don't think it's appropriate that Airbnb allows hosts to charge these side fees not within the app, okay? Because then I feel like that would have came up, and that would have been something that I'd been like, okay, well, hold on, no. I guarantee you I wouldn't have booked it if I knew that was a fee, right? So that's pretty much my story. Again, feel how you want to feel about it. I feel like Airbnb is shady as hell. They're not what they used to be anyway. Regardless of this situation that happened, where I basically have to bite the bullet and deal with it, the quality of Airbnb is so trash now. Crazy cleaning fees, crazy checkout instructions, just low quality cleaning services, stale towels, weird smells. I've also heard lack of privacy. That's never been my opinion, but I wouldn't be surprised. And very unaccommodating, money hungry in my opinion. I feel like non-refundable. I get why non-refundable is not refundable, but I mean, come on now. But that's my story. Let me know if you have any Airbnb horror stories, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.